tomorrow, but due to some scheduling, we're doing it on today. So with that, Madam Secretary, would you call the roll?
Member DeLong?
Here.
Member T-Bone?
Here.
Member Mason?
Here.
Member Snyder?
Here.
Member Dutton Mitchell?
Here.
We have a quorum. Next item is we have the minutes for the August 20th, 2024 board meeting. Everybody should have those in front of them. Do we have any changes or corrections? If not, do we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second.
Aye.
Those opposed? Minutes are adopted. Next item, Mr. Denton, consider approval of financial statements for the month ending August 31st, 2024. Tell us we're okay.
Yes, sir.
That's good.
Good evening. Our fiscal year ends June 30th this year, so this would be the second month of fiscal year 2025. Just go through a few highlights. On page 23, this is our statement of net position. You'll notice from what we covered last month for July, there's been very little change month over month on our statement of net position. Total assets for the as of August 31st, 2024, just over $240 million. Property, plant, and equipment net of accumulated depreciation accounted for 62% of total assets at just under $150 million. You'll notice year over year we had a substantial investment in infrastructure. When you take out accumulated depreciation, the plant board invested $16 million back into infrastructure, which is very impressive and keeping the system up moving forward, which is great. The only other change between worth mentioning is your cash and investments are down $2.3 million year over year at $27 million. We did anticipate that as we had some of these large capital investments. Looking at total liabilities, line 150 of approximately $103 million. You take your assets minus your liabilities, we have net position of just over $137 million for the period, bringing your liabilities and net position equaling your assets of $240 million. I'd like to briefly talk about the financial performance through the first 2 months of this fiscal year. So this is through the first 2 months ending August 31st, 2024. On page 28, this is our detailed statement of revenues, expenses, and change in net position. When you look at operating revenue of just over $19.4 million, you subtract your operating and administrative expenses of $16.2 million, add in a little other revenue of $179 million, and you have an increase in net assets of just over $3.4 million. It's worth noting that the plant board does have accrual basis of accounting. So that is different than cash. When revenue, it's recorded when it's earned, not when received, and we incur, expenses are recorded when incurred, not paid. So that explains the difference between what is on our income statement versus being down on cash. But other than that, we're on track for the first 2 months of the year.
Okay. Do we have any questions of Mr. Denton? If not, do we have a motion to accept the financials?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, financials are adopted. Public comment, do we have anybody signed up? Did we get any comments?
Just the one that I emailed to everybody.
Right, and that was good, right?
That was a good one.
That was a good one. That's
Liking the new kiosk.
yes. And just to let everybody know, when we get to item 6.1, the safety manual, I've asked Tyler to read the whole safety manual word for word for us. Shouldn't take more than 7-8 hours. So, if just let everybody know it's coming. Next one, departmental reports, Mr. General Manager.
Yes. The first one pertains to agree upon the related party transaction. We don't have any. And the next is public information. Casey.
Hello, Miss Lindsay.
Hello. How are y'all doing tonight?
We're doing, I know it depends what you say.
It's a Monday night.
Yeah.
I drove into work this morning. I was like, oh, yeah, we have a meeting.
That's right.
I'm super happy to be here. As I'm sure all of you are, I just want to give a little update on today we started. Microphone's on now. Today we started our Meet the Candidates interviews, and we have them scheduled for every day this week. It's really busy. I think there's going to be 15 or 16? 17. And we're just really looking forward to getting those done and sharing that information with the community. Because once Labor Day hits, after that, it's on for all the candidates. So we're happy to be part of that process.
And who's doing the interviews or the MC or the?
Steve Vest is
okay,
doing,
yeah.
Yeah,
he was good. He did a good job last time.
Yeah. So we're happy to have him and his help as well. We've been working with customer service in getting out information about our new kiosks. We put together a new bill insert and a brochure that will be handed out in the drive-through. And Crystal's been working on a video that we're going to have that will be on our website, and we'll put it on social media as well. So not only to promote it, but just to give a step-by-step in how to use them. So we have that going. We have good news in that every year we try to do something for employee appreciation. This year we have a special thing to celebrate because we've been able to raise our Google rating from 1.6 to 3.0, which for a utility or cable company is excellent. So we're going to strive to get it to 3.5 in the next year because we kind of keep an eye on what our competitors are doing, and we feel like the more we can stay ahead of them as far as Google reviews, the better. But we're very pleased with that. We know that that's not only through effort from our customer service team, but from all of our employees who make the effort to talk about how be ambassadors for the Frankfurt Plant Board, talk about all the good services that we provide. So we appreciate all the work that people have done.
Have you set a date for the customer appreciation yet, or?
Well, this is employee appreciation.
Employee, okay.
We're having a lunch on Friday for all employees. We're going to have community queue down in the back.
This Friday?
Parking lot. You're invited. It's from 11 to 2, and you can take your lunch and go, or you can come up here and have lunch here in the community room if you'd like.
Okay.
We are looking at Customer Appreciation Day for October. Tentatively, the date is Friday, October 11th. And there is a slight possibility that might change to the next week, but we're hanging on to the 11th for now. We'll see what happens, and we'll let you know for sure. Because that's always a fun day here at the plant board. We get everybody out in the parking lot and in here. Just a good time. We like when a lot of the retirees come back and see what's going on here at the plant board. So we're looking forward to that in October. Are there any questions?
Sounds like a good agenda.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next is our NOG.
Good evening. For the month of August, the Network Operations Center entered 1,349 trouble calls. NOC staff handled 3,728 phone calls, and our locators did 575 locates. So nothing really else to report, just business as usual for the NOC.
And fully staffed?
We're fully staffed in the NOC, and we're currently interviewing for a locator.
Okay.
So, and we lost the one we have, just transferred to an internal department, so
Okay.
we really didn't lose them.
Right. Any questions?
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Next is our customer service. David Daniels.
Yes, I'll cover that tonight. So the customer service reports are in page 109 through 113 of your board packet. The customer service department assisted approximately 9,600 customers this month, and one of the big standouts is just the new kiosk. We had 274 transactions. That's up 93 from last month. And I believe, as Kathy mentioned, as we continue to promote that and really inform the community, I believe that will jump substantially, and we can watch that over the months. So that's 24/7 payments we can accept for cash, check, and payment cards as well. So that's for the month.
Any questions for Gary?
Next is our telecommunication. Adam.
Good evening. The telecom report starts on page 115 of your board packet with the customer numbers. Page 116 and 117 are the outages for the month. We had 3 outages. We had an outage over off Shinkle Lane, which was a bad trunk module. We had an outage over in Ridgeview area, which was some water damage that some equipment took, and we had a blown fuse down on the cracking pipe. Trouble calls were up just a little bit versus this time last year, but average they're still below, so nothing really big there. Still, Next Man Construction still going in full swing and installation. Doing some testing, trying to get some new areas turned on. College Park area, that should be in about 2 or 3 weeks. We just turned that over for testing. The area we were talking about on East-West Connector last week,
That apartments,
we had a little bit of an issue. Don't know if it's an engineering as far as the fibers were flipped, but as soon as we get that resolved, that area will be ready as well. Everything's staying busy. We do stand right now at 165 easements. Our signs, so we got a little less than 400 to get. Our part-time person that we were going to, we have one.
Did you find
coming
one?
on board.
Good.
Local real estate agent, and hopefully get their background check and everything. They'll be starting, and we'll
Okay.
get that going as well. So, be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Adam?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next is electric department.
Hey, good evening, Mr. Chair, Board. The electric department departmental reports begins on page 119 of your board package with our reliability numbers for the month of August. You can see there on page 119 our SAIDI numbers for the month are at 46.549. If you flip over to page 120, it's a pie chart of the breakdown of those. Page 121 lists those out with a total number of 45 interruptions for the month. And if you flip over to page 122, it lists the top 10 outages we had for the month, configured by customer minutes of interruption, with a total number of 381 customers affected for the month. And I'll be happy to try to answer any questions you have about any of that.
Any questions?
The Tanglewood Shelby, is that where the poles broke?
It is, yes,
Okay.
sir. Yeah, and that's, if you notice on there, it's on there twice. And the reason for that is to try to make our numbers as reliable as possible. When that outage occurred, we were able to restore some of those customers quicker. So we actually broke that down into 2 outages.
Okay.
So that way our numbers would be more accurate.
Okay, good. Thanks.
It's a good question.
Did we figure out what happened with that pole? It wasn't high wind, was it?
It was a tree. Yeah, a tree hit some lines. It actually broke 3 poles down through there. So,
Wow, okay.
Any other questions?
anything else?
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. The SEPA report begins on page 123 of your board package. For the month of July, our SEPA bill was $82,203, so kind of back to that normal level. Often in May and June, our SEPA bill will go up because there's an annual energy allocation, and towards the end of the fiscal year, if you have excess energy, you pay more. So the $82,000 we paid this month, that's kind of our normal bill. We're back to the normal billing. Our net payment for SEPA was $268,509 for a profit to the planning board of $186,306, which brings us through July of this year a net benefit of $737,097. So far so good with SEPA. We're kind of tracking right like we did last year, which was a pretty good year. Happy to answer any questions on that. If not, AMI, we're at 20,061 electric installs and 13,587 water installs. So business as usual there, just kind of we're plugging away.
So what, do you have an estimate when you'll wrap up on both electric and water?
We, not a great estimate at this time. We're down to about 2,000 more electric, so we're kind of at the 90% mark, if that kind of helps narrow it down. Most of the material have been delivered, so it's really just a matter of getting the meters installed, honestly. Those last 2,000 for electric, maybe 3,000-ish water meters left to go.
Okay.
So getting close.
Okay.
Any questions? Good.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, for the KYMEA, I really don't have any new to report it, except you have any question, happy to answer.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. For the safety, go ahead.
Good afternoon. Safety report begins on pages 127 and 128. We had no vehicle accidents for the month of August. We did have one OSHA recordable. It was a minor laceration on the hand, but throughout the week it got worse to not being treated, so it ended up having an infection, then placed on restricted duty, causing it to be a OSHA recordable.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Thank you, sir.
Next is water distribution.
Good evening, Board.
Thank you.
The water distribution monthly report can be found on pages 129 through 131. The bar graph represents that we had one water main break, we had one water outage. No customers actually affected, but it's still an outage for keeping a loop system. And then 21 new water services were installed. That's for August. Also in the 21 services installed, that includes the first phase of the Copperleaf subdivision. We got that wrapped up. Phases 2 and 3 are supposed to be starting soon, and that'll lead from getting the infrastructure in, water main, and then fizzle on down with the services. One thing not included was, spoke last time about the hydrant flushing. We did get the hydrant flushing completed also in August. That closed out with about 212 hydrants for the month. And as Travis touched on AMI, we're about 80% with our AMI project, and that is also getting out to the district. As I touched on last time, things slow down a little bit. Meters are farther apart, driveways, houses, not always 2 meters per vault. So typical slow down a little bit as expected. And that's about what I got.
Any questions? Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Next is water treatment plant.
Good evening, everyone. For the month of August, the water treatment plant treated 300,109,000 gallons of water for a daily average of 9.68 million gallons. Lock 4 averaged 1,922 cubic feet per second for an average of 1.2 billion gallons per day, and there were 3.6 inches of rain this past month.
Any questions? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. General Manager? Okay. Action items. First one is, with the board's approval, we got Travis and Jason. We don't have any final action yet, but with the board's approval, hopefully, when we get word from USDA, I would like to have authority, if the board would be okay with it, assuming everything is as we understand it and as we've reviewed it, to have authority to execute the agreement so we could go on and proceed with that. And like I said, you know, if anything is different than what we've seen, then we'll bring it back to the board. But if everything stays as it is, then with your all's approval, I could go on and execute those agreements so we could go on and begin the process.
And this is the REAP grant
Right,
to expand the community solar.
Right, it's the one that
Right.
we applied for, that Jason, Andy McDonald, Travis, and everybody
Right.
put a lot of work in,
Right.
and,
I just want to make sure everybody was aware
yes,
of what we
yes,
were talking.
yes. And that would go out here, adjacent to the array we already have. And obviously,
And we should be hearing something shortly after this meeting sometime.
we hope so, yeah.
Okay.
So Travis, Jason, if anybody has any questions, or if not, we could entertain a motion, whatever y'all want to do.
So moved.
We have a motion?
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And hopefully we'll hear something soon. So Travis, good presentation, buddy.
Thank you, appreciate it. It's my favorite of all time.
Yes, sir. The next one's 5.2. Since we just talked about one that we don't have yet, 5.2 would be, there is going to be an opportunity, like now, to apply for a second round, which would hopefully be a second round of awards, similar conditions, and would add to it out here. And I know, David, you've looked at it. I think, Travis, you've looked at it to make sure we don't violate the KYMEA limits on how much we can add.
Correct, yes.
And it would make, I'll let you and Jason talk about, I mean, it would be a major step forward in terms of having that solar and the rate that we'd have with a lot of the capital costs paid and what we could charge and pass on to customers. So open up, Jason, for you and Travis, talk about it.
Yeah, no, I think you hit it right on the head there. When we did the first phase of community solar, there was a lot of discussion about how do we pay for it, those types of questions. How do we build the rate that recovers all the costs? With the REAP project, the federal funding is so advantageous. It makes sense from my perspective to proceed regardless of what we decide to do with it in the in use of the product.
And what's the federal match?
Yeah, so it's a 50-50. It would be a $2 million project again, same as the first round of funding that we've applied for. So the planning board would have to contribute $1 million. The USDA would also contribute $1 million. Plus, on top of that, we think, we're almost certain there will be some ITC benefits. So the tax credits that we would be able to apply for. We think, at a minimum, Jason, tell me if I'm wrong, probably 30% is kind of a home run, close to a home run, if you will. So all things considered, even though we may not be certain what we're going to do with that solar, it makes financial sense just as a hedge against wholesale power costs, right? If you just look at it as an energy asset and nothing else, forget about what we make in use of the product with. It still makes sense from that perspective. So I think we're kind of all of the same opinion. It's worth a shot. Really tight deadline. If the board authorizes us to proceed, we'll have to send the bid out Wednesday and have all our ducks in a row by the end of the month. Does that all make sense, Jason?
Yeah, just to kind of walk.
Sure.
So the idea is it's almost an identical expansion of what we already got. We're in the new fiscal federal year, so we can apply for another round of the funding. You can get one grant per fiscal year per entity nationally. So we got awarded for we're looking at. Yeah, so now we have the opportunity to move forward. And so it would be basically identical. We have 2 weeks till the deadline, which for an 800-page application sounds like not very much time. But the good thing is Travis has agreed to work overtime, nights and weekends. No, but joking.
It's already been done, though, right?
Joking aside, it's about 95% the same application. We got to change some dates. We got to shift it a few hundred feet south. Travis already laid out the property. I've talked to Andy McDonald. I've talked to Elizabeth at Shield, who did the environmental work. They're confident they can come in much lower on their costs because it's kind of rinse and repeat.
Right.
So I think it's a pretty good thing to do. Now, I just want to be straightforward. The last 2 years of this program has had, they've spent a lot of money. Like, they had $1 billion, they spent a lot of it. Really, this is sort of a Hail Mary, but the program has a 7-year mandate. So in theory, it's going to keep on going. So we might as well throw it in. We have no clue what Congress is going to do to bring more money. The program has been extremely successful, and I think they could bring more money to it coming into next year. So there should right now be enough money to fund what we're looking for, but they could bring more money. It's just the demand is going higher and higher. So the first grant, I thought we had a pretty good shot on. This one,
So if we're fortunate
we'll
enough,
try.
If we're fortunate enough to get the one that's pending,
Right.
and then we applied for this and we're successful,
Yep.
how much total capacity, and it would all be back here,
Right.
Right.
which we don't
I
have to
think-
go out and buy any land.
Right.
We
It'll all
don't
be
have
back
any
here.
transmission. We don't have to pay anybody to wheel power.
Right.
How much total would we have, and what's that the equivalent of?
It works out, I think, to 2.3 megawatts DC and just under 2 megawatts AC. Right, Travis?
Yep. So.
And that would be a fairly large array for the state. I think KU and maybe one other utility is the only ones larger.
And this would be in addition to Ashwood or anything else we might do down the road.
Right, exactly. And then in addition to if we want to expand our community solar, we still have the space to do that
Right.
in addition. So the first one I felt pretty good about. This one, we might as well go for it and see what we can do. It is a quick turnaround, but I think we've run the numbers and we can make it within a few hours, jumping through all the hurdles we got to jump through by protocol.
So if the board chose to go down this path, we'd be asking the board, you would be, and Travis, asking the board to authorize us to apply, to get the RFP out, to get an estimate, which we have to submit what the cost is, and do any other miscellaneous cost, grant application assistance, the archaeological, all the various things that have to be done, similar to last time. And you'd be asking that Gary be authorized to enter into those agreements and get those and report to the board what's happened.
Yeah.
but to go on and do those without having to call a special meeting. Is that correct?
That is correct. And then the only other thing to note is, previously we had located the array on a very disturbed site. You know, it had been a landfill for 27 years. We had all the pictures for it. This array would overlap with about a third of that site, but it would also be moving on to non-landfill sites. So the archaeological might be a little more challenging, but the archaeological doesn't have to be done at the time of the application. It can overlap with the deadline, so we would have a few more months to work on that. So as long as everybody's good with it, we should be able to power forward with that kind of thing.
And if you put all this together, Travis, everything we got with what, if assuming we got the ITCs, we got everything, then this actually power would actually be less than our current wholesale, right?
Yeah, very competitive. Best case scenario, let's say we get the grant and the ITC and we get the energy community bonus. We're looking at probably as good or better than what we're paying today. So you look forward 20, 30 years with the solar, you know, the lifeline of the project. I think it's a pretty good bet we're going to be better, if not today, 5, 10 years down the road.
Yeah, when you layer everything together, it's 80 to 90% of the entire cost of the system is incentivized. So, we're getting a really
So
good
if you
deal.
can build a solar array for 10%,
Yeah, one would hope that you can compete with the wholesale market. If not, we're in trouble.
Yeah. And this is probably more a question than an answer, but as far as the electric department budget, what we did for the first application, we budgeted the full $2 million. So I guess there's a decision to be made. Is it appropriate to do a budget amendment now, or see how the the application progresses? But that was just one other thing I did want to point out. So the one that's in progress, that's budgeted the full project cost, the full $2 million. The REAP money will come, probably at the end of the project, the way I understand it. So at some point, if we want to move forward with this second application, we'll have to discuss, a budget amendment.
well, Mr. Denton, since the window to your office does not open, I don't want you jumping out. What gives you the least heartburn?
We can wait. I mean, it's, as Jason just mentioned, it's up in the air a little bit. So we can always amend it when the board, if we get positive feedback and awarded and the board accepts, we can amend it at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, and timing might work out well because, sorry, let me think here for a second. Award should probably be, if there was going to be awarded in the first cycle, would probably be before the end of the year. And there's supposedly new tariffs going on solar panels, and may give us a chance if we do find out about award to lock in that lower price
And
before
order
the end of the year.
panels for,
And I've been told by a few different people on projects that if you, or the day you order it's when you lock in the tariff.
Right.
Not, yeah, it can't be added when it's delivered. So, we may be able to thread the needle here, but we don't have a chance if we don't try. So I'm very happy everybody's willing. So far in the background, setting this up to try.
Well, you
so.
and Travis and Gary and everybody on your team have really done a heck of a job on all this, seeking this out and getting us a shot at this money. So
Cool. Well, thank you. And everybody's been great doing this.
So what's the board's pleasure?
So you need a motion?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
We have a motion to authorize Gary to sign the application, to issue the RFP and any other miscellaneous contracts that we have to do, and to notify us immediately when those are done, and then they'll be on the agenda for full review at the next board meeting. So that's the motion. Do we
I'll
have a
second
second?
it.
We have a second, Catherine?
Yes.
So we have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Well, Travis, you need to go to Dick's tonight, get you a nice tent, and you can go right here. It's a fenced-in area by the array, so you'd be safe there at night.
Yeah,
Just-
I think it'd be fine. Yeah.
I think
Okay,
the
thank you all.
Bobcats don't climb the fence.
No, he'll be good.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you. Next item, 5.3, consider approval of the clubhouse rental agreement and the project status update. Ms. Phillips? And I just wanted to point out, Ms. Mitchell, Steve showed me some pictures here earlier. It's amazing the inside of that, what you, Leanne, Steve, everybody's accomplished. It's incredible. So, doesn't look like it has that old kind of little slope going down to everything. I mean, it looks good, so.
Well, it is looking great. Thank you, Mr. Mason, for sending those pictures.
Yeah.
It's exciting. It's coming along.
You didn't know Steve was a cinematographer, did you?
I did not.
Leanne?
I'd like to start with the update on the clubhouse, on the progress.
Okay.
The textured ceilings have been changed to a smooth finish. The drywall's complete. The roof has been installed and the siding is complete. The deck is also finished and the ADA restroom is framed and drywalled. The water heater has been installed. The HVAC coils have been cleaned and the flooring is finished. Interior trim is being completed today. The wall paint is complete. The ADA parking area is formed and will be poured later this week. Gutters, electric, and plumbing are scheduled to be completed later this week also, and the contractor anticipates being 99% finished at the end of the week.
So do we have an estimated date? Because we've had a number of inquiries for the month of October as to if it might be available for rent. Do we have an idea? I know Kathy and Lindsay had also talked about, having some type of some kind of event when we open it, but I know we've got people saying, is it available for any rentals in October? What's your understanding? Or
I would say, I would guess late October, because there's still some things that we'll need to do outside of the contractor doing, like getting the tables, making sure the security is what it needs to be. So.
And speaking of the tables, I guess Steve or you or Catherine, do we have the tables? Is that budgeted within the estimate, or is that outside?
We have enough in the budget to purchase new tables. We do need new tables. The ones we have are worn, have a lot of stains on them, and the chairs are kind of classroom style chairs, and they're about 4 different colors.
So, so we can. Does the contract need to be amended to authorize the table since we're within the budget, or do we have authority hands within the contract? So if we're not paying the contractor and we still have room, can we use that to purchase the new tables now, or do we need a specific amendment?
I think you can purchase the tables with it. You've authorized the money, as far as the accounting part of it.
And it's for the project, so.
It's for the project, that's my rationale. I don't know that you need to specifically delineate tables, chairs, and if that's specific enough for an audit, financial purposes. I would like to ask, while I'm in the agreement, if I could ask for one addition to Leanne's edits that she sent around this morning.
Okay, let's first do the status.
Oh, okay.
Before we go
Gotcha,
to the
gotcha.
agreement.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you was.
Well, I'm finished with my part of the status.
Okay, anybody have any questions on the status of the project and the time frame? Okay, let's move then to the agreement. Hands?
Just in paragraphs V and VI, if I could add the word defend into those paragraphs, indemnify, defend.
Now, what is it now in V?
Paragraph V and VI.
Okay.
Indemnify, defend.
Okay.
I can just make those small edits there. Just that one word, please.
And I have one suggestion, and this is a grammatical. Under J, there does not need to be an apostrophe in employees.
Okay. And as I understand it, the rates and everything that you all have looked at in the agreement, do you want to kind of go over some of the highlights of the agreement, Leanne?
Sure.
Okay.
First of all, pricing, the public pricing on Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. will be $200. From 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. on Monday through Friday is $300. An all-day event or a weekend day is $500. The employee rate from 9 to 2 on Monday through Friday is $125. And from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. it's $200 Monday through Friday. The weekend days or all day during the week is $400. And some other revisions that were made is the rental will include 22 2.5 by 8 foot tables and 105 chairs. The occupancy for the clubhouse is 105, and we will know at a later date the capacity for the deck. The contractor is going to get that number for me. The hours listed in section 1 include setup and breakdown times. No ticketed, pay at the door, or cover charge events permitted. No parking is permitted on the grass. No fireworks are permitted on the premises. No smoking is allowed inside the clubhouse. Renter is responsible for the removal of all food, trash, decorations, etc. to trash containers provided on the property. Renter is responsible for the setup and takedown of tables and chairs. The renter is responsible for depositing all trash in trash bags and depositing the bags in the provided trash receptacles. And normal cleaning time allotted is 3 hours. When more than 3 hours is required for cleanup, it will be charged to the renter. Frankfurt Plant Board will not be responsible for any personal belongings left on the property. The renter is responsible for paying the cost for any damage to the property. Should the renter fail to pay the damage cost, appropriate criminal or civil action will be taken. A checklist concerning the condition of the clubhouse before and after the rental will be reviewed with the renter at the time of renting and signed by the renter. And then we also added no alcoholic beverages may be sold on the premises. And another change is FPB employees can only rent it one time a year or per calendar year.
At the employee rate. They can
At the
rent as much
employee
as they
rate.
want, but
Okay.
only at the lower, they can get the employee rate once
The
a year.
public rate, right.
And it has to be, they have to be involved or participating in the event,
Them or
correct?
their spouse have to be
Yes.
present.
Right.
The security deposit has been changed to $500. And a non-refundable service fee will be charged to cover the service fee charged to the plant board if a credit card is used for payment. And also a non-refundable service fee will be charged to cover the service fee charged if a credit card is used for payment. And that is all of the changes that were made.
And everybody has, if the facility is rented, everything's gotta be wrapped up, closed by 11 o'clock, correct? And I know Catherine, you and Steve, did a lot of work on this. You took existing, you modified it, looked at some other, and as I understand it, the rates that are being proposed here are equal to or lower than what other either public or commercial facilities are in Franklin County, correct?
I can't verify that.
Is that,
Well, yes.
Yes.
I looked at comparable,
mhm,
and so, yes, we're equal or less.
mhm.
And, you know, we're not an events-based company, but,
Right.
this is one of our assets.
Right.
And we just want to make sure it's, accessible and available to the community but mindful of the residential area it's in. So I'm glad you pointed out, I mean, literally the doors are locked, and so everybody's gone by 11 p.m. and there's no music allowed outside. Of course, it's allowed inside, but
Right.
so it shouldn't feel any different than it did before. And we're just excited to be able to share this again.
And I want to give a kudo out to Steve, because I know one of the things, Steve's been a proponent of this for years. And I know Steve also wanted to make sure that if we ever reopened this, the rates would be such that families could take advantage of it. And I think, Steve, you and Catherine have really, and Leanne have just really worked hard to get this to where it is, and some rates that hopefully families can enjoy it.
Well, I'll give the credit to Catherine. Her true attorneyship came out. She was attention to detail and specifics, things I just kind of overlooked. She saw them. And the color, as I see it, really came out well, Catherine. That greenish or whatever that color was, it really looks good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So are you implying that Catherine has better taste than you?
Well, that was already.
You don't have to apply that. That's a given. Yeah, I think the Leanne, Catherine, Steve, everybody, I'm not a Frankfurt native. My wife's a Frankfurt native, and amongst those folks that are Frankfurt natives, this place holds a real special spot for them. A lot of people have been to a lot of events there, and I'm really excited we're going to be able to open it back up to the public and have them take advantage of it. It's a great space, and it'll be extra special once we open it back up.
Unfortunately, John will be working most of the time in the first part of it.
It's quite all right. It's quite all right. I don't go to those receptions anyway. So yeah. Do you think there's any chance we would have a plant board meeting down there or not?
Well, I think we ought to certainly consider it. I mean, I think, and maybe Miss Lindsay can put all that together and coordinate what it might look like. And
and Gary could write the check for the rental. So
well, yeah, and he's an employee, he gets a discount. So first does anybody have any changes, modifications they want to do to the draft FPB clubhouse rental agreement?
in addition to one's already been
Right.
suggested. Yeah.
So on that, first, do we have a motion to adopt the proposed clubhouse rental agreement with the changes that were previously discussed?
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Second is what's the board's discretion if it stays on schedule, Leanne, with what all has to be done? Do we want to begin the process of taking reservations in October and let staff proceed with that before the next board meeting? Or do we want to wait till the next board meeting?
I was just thinking that with everybody planning Christmas parties and Thanksgiving, it would probably be good that the sooner people know they can reserve it.
I would leave it up to the staff just to set a time as to when they're gonna start accepting reservations. And we'll go ahead and let them start accepting those reservations.
Miss Lindsay, are you in the vicinity? Where's she at? Is she coming?
Yes.
In terms of where you've heard all this discussion, and I know you were looking at possibly, like John said, maybe we'll schedule a board meeting, and also you were going to schedule some type of
Like the
function activity.
ribbon cutting, because we have the new reservoir there.
Right.
That we'd like to celebrate as well as the clubhouse. That's something I can get with Leanne about to kind of see where we were looking on.
And start putting together a draft, a plan, and what it might look like, and
Yeah.
you always do well at these things. So.
I'll see kind of. I don't want to plan something ahead of the time that we know that something's going to be done.
Right.
You never know what's going to happen. But I'm again getting with Leanne on go ahead and starting to take reservations for later.
Yeah.
Definitely start doing that. Let people know that it will be available.
And designing our website, doing everything you've got to do to
Sure.
get this. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Hans, do we need to have a motion for staff to go on and proceed with that, or do we need to do anything else, or are we good, you think?
I think you're good. Your staff can go ahead and start
Okay.
booking things out whenever it gets to be.
Yeah, because the rental agreement's the important thing.
Yes, and that's in place.
That's what we would need. I was just what you said there.
And Gary, we look forward to you hosting us all up there. Okay. Leanne, really, thank you for everything you did on this.
Thanks.
You did a great job. And Catherine and Steve, thanks.
You're welcome.
Next one, item 5.4. Consider award of bid number 1510 for PVC pipe to Ferguson Waterworks for $554,336. Miss Dutta, how you doing?
I'm good. Good evening. So this is part of our overall project to become the water supplier for the city of Midway. When we originally did the agreement, we were going to do an 8-inch ductile iron pipe to their system, to their sewer plant. Since that time, they've asked us to revisit the pipe type and pipe diameter, so now we've upped it to a 10-inch, and they've requested it to be PVC pipe, hence the request to award the bid. So we sent out bids, received 5, and the low bidder did not actually have any reference. They were a Canadian-based company, and they only had one reference in the entire United States. So their operator was a little concerned about that, asked me to follow up with the second low bidder, which is Ferguson Waterworks. They're a regular supplier to us now, and they had multiple references here in central Kentucky. So because of that, they have requested us to award the bid to the second low bidder. So that is, their cost per foot was $26.78. And in addition to the original agreement, they've also asked us to extend the project to about 4,000 feet as well. So now we're about 20,000 feet. That's where the total cost of about $554,000 came in. City of Midway is going to reimburse all their costs through surcharge. We are going to be reworking the agreement since we've extended it, changed the pipe material. So we've got this bid now, so we've got hard numbers for the pipe. I have a pump station as well that's going to be a part of this project. That bid opening is on September 26th. So once we get those numbers plus these numbers, we're going to have a lot better cost of what to use when we rework the agreement. And they may look at extending. Right now it's going to be over a 20-year surcharge. They may look at extending to a 30 or 40 with the increased cost. It's probably going to come with extending the pipe. So I'll be bringing that back to the board as soon as we can get something worked out. Like I said, we'll have hard prices at the end of the month for the pump station, and however long it takes to work with Midway to actually redo the agreement, I'll bring it back to the board immediately after that.
So in short, we're essentially ordering exactly the materials Midway wants, and they're going to end up paying for it on the back end.
Absolutely.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
Just recommend awarding the bid to Ferguson Waterworks.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if there are no other questions, I make a motion to approve the bid invitation as discussed by Sherman.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Contract's awarded. Now, item 5.5.
All right.
Consider approving the fourth addendum to the water supply agreement with Georgetown Municipal Water and Sewer. Ms. Dutta.
Okay, this is a follow-up to last month's meeting. And since that time, this board and Georgetown's board has had time to fully review the fourth addendum. Both parties in agreement with the wording, and we're ready to approve that agreement. So once our board signs it, we'll send it to Georgetown for them to sign as well, and we should be able to proceed.
And in short, it's a longer-term agreement. We're giving them a rate break. They're giving us a longer term, and they're buying more water.
Exactly.
So,
And I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have taken more phone calls and gone to more lunches and talked to more people in Georgetown than anybody should ever have to. But you've done a fantastic job on this.
well, thank you. I mean, Georgetown has been our customer and friend for over 30 years. So, I mean, this is good for them. It's good for us. So,
Yeah.
So, do we have any further discussion on it? If not, do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed? Contract's approved. Next, Sharmissa, you just, 5.6, approve and ratify the Franklin County 5805.00 draft keep cost agreement for Signal Ridge to Payne Street and Broadway Bridge update. Sharmista.
Okay, so, as the board is aware, we have an active 8-inch water line on Broadway Bridge. They sent out the bids again. They're no longer gonna save any portions of the bridge, but they do wanna start demolition October 1st. So we are rushing to go ahead and install a second feed from Signal Ridge to Payne, and they have agreed to pay for all materials. There was a question about doing a temporary pipe just laid on the ground versus us just going ahead and installing it in the ground for our future benefit. Ended up, the prices almost came out to be the same if we were to lay it on the ground. Almost equal to the actual material cost. So this agreement, I know I got it sent out to you guys late
Right.
today. They call it a keep cost agreement, and that's basically their agreement to cover the material cost. So we are, we've already signed it, and this is, you approved a few months ago. You
Right.
approved spending up to $150,000, so we've agreed it, and I guess this is an opportunity for the board to ratify the agreement.
And if you would remind Sharmista, if anybody's listening, of course, we could do a temporary, hook the line up to the new bridge. But if we do bury it and put it underground, would you talk a little bit about some of the advantages of it? I mean, because we're spending more than we're going to be reimbursed for, but there are significant advantages to us doing this.
Absolutely. So, in any water system, you don't want to have dead ends. But in this case, we do. So Signal Ridge has a dead end on the end of that road. We have an 8-inch line, and that's fed from our west side pressure zone, which is, we always refer to each zone as the top level of our tank. So on the west side, it's the 935 elevation. On the Payne Street side in Buttermere Hill, that's our 811 zone. That's from the reservoir. Actually, it's 816 now that we've got the new reservoir. So those pressures are typically pretty high in that area. We have low elevation. So we typically don't mix our zones. But in this case, because we have the two dead ends, and then Payne Street, or the Buttermere Hill area, whenever they have a line break, they're basically the whole neighborhood's out of water. So this is going to provide an opportunity to improve water quality, have additional water, higher pressure from the west side zone. This project will include pressure reducing valves. So, because we're going from a higher zone to a lower zone. So, in reality, it just benefits Buttermere Hill. They've got the second feed. We're not having to flush the line on Signal Ridge as much. So, it's a long-term benefit for the plant board.
And there'll still be down the road, we'll still be talking about an agreement with Transportation and Palmer on an additional water across one of the two other bridges, right?
And that has recently changed to now they want us to consider boring under the river. So I'm working with some contractors to get some estimates on potentially boring under the river.
Do we have scuba equipment?
No, we need that.
Do we have any divers? I mean, do we?
Yeah, so that's the next step. So apparently their permits department's not very comfortable with attaching to one of the new bridges, so they want us to at least see the price difference between going under the river versus attaching to the bridge.
I would guess that once they see the price difference, they'll be happy to put it onto the bridge.
That's true.
Can we go ahead and just make that pedestrian tunnel under the river while we're at it? If we're going to drill a hole, might as well do it a little bigger. But yeah, I agree with John. I think they're going to want to attach it to that bridge.
So I guess like I said, we got the contract this afternoon. It's a standard transportation boilerplate, and provides for, like Sharmista said, it's within what we had authorized Gary and Sharmista to proceed with, to get this done, to make sure we didn't have any service interruptions for any of our customers. So we've got it, basically all we're doing. Do we even have to act on it, Hans, or are we simply saying we've got it and we acknowledge it, or do we have to
We
approve
have to
it?
approve it, don't we?
I would just say,
Yeah.
I would use the language there.
Yeah.
motion to
I
approve and ratify.
I would go ahead and make a motion to approve and ratify the agreement that we received from the Transportation Academy today, number 5-805.00.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you all. And Sharmista, you and Gary did you all really been on this, so thank you all.
Thank you.
John, while we have Sharmista, would I be able to could we just get a quick update on the Broadway Bridge demolition? There's a lot of rumors, and the first bid they didn't accept. Can you give us an update on where all that stands?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm sorry, some of this may be repetitive, but so the first bid, I attended that pre-bid meeting, and a lot of the questions from the contractors were saving the existing truss, because I think everybody knew they wanted to reuse that for potential pedestrian bridge that at this time they don't know if they're going to actually construct. So part of the problem was they actually were going to have to make repairs to the truss because it's in such bad shape before they could even pull it up. And then in addition, there were quite a few liquidated damages associated with the project too. So I think the contractors that submitted the bid realized there's a lot of risk with this project, and then a lot of tight deadlines. So obviously the price I think came in over $16 million. So obviously they stepped back, realized let's not try to save the truss. And part of the original project was contractor had to find somewhere to store the trusses as well. So there was just a lot involved with that first one. So I think realized that it needs to be just completely demolished at this time. So now they're basically wanting to start demo on October 1st. The holdup is us right now. So as far as trying to get the water line on the bridge. So I've had issues. I found out Tuesday when they sent this agreement to me that there's the BABA requirement, the Buy American requirement. So we've been calling all our suppliers, trying to get materials that meet the requirement. But then they also followed up today and said that as long as the material is $2,500 or less, we're okay. So our pipe, luckily our pipe meets the requirement, but our valves, our fittings, they don't. But according to the transportation cabinet, that's going to be okay. I'll just submit a list of all the items that don't meet. The only issue I'm having right now is the pressure reducing valves. They are over the $2,500. I received one quote today. The quotes aren't they're higher, which is expected, but the lead time was 16 to 18 weeks. So I just found that out right before the board meeting, so I'm gonna get back to transportation. I can get a valve for a lot less in 3 weeks versus meeting the BABA requirement. 16 to 18 weeks isn't gonna work. So that's what I'll be working through tomorrow with transportation.
And as I remember, I watched the city commission meeting the other night, and I guess what the original bid was 16 million, and I think the one that came in on the rebid was what, 10?
10-ish, yeah.
And then it's just to understand, it's all the structure of the bridge, and then the pylons as well, all the way down to below the water line.
That's the way it was explained to me. Yes.
And I think what the first phase is, I don't want to call them approach ramps, but there's like whatever they call those spans.
Right.
Those come first, which obviously affects our pipe, and then the later time frame is the actual part that's over the river, correct?
Right. Well, so they want to open the river. That's the main key.
You're right.
So I think there's a span 4, which is where I guess the most concern is. And so I think they're going to try to remove that part first so they can reopen the river.
Bridge.
And then they'll start taking the rest of it off.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Did I cover it? Okay.
That's very
All
helpful.
right.
And I know you've been to many, many meetings on this, so thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Next is item 5.7. Consider amendments to the compensation plan, section X, compensation plan section, subsection Q, account executives exclusion. Michelle.
Good evening, Board Chair and members of the board. Staff requests that the board approve a policy outlining the procedures for handling final compensation for FPB's commission account executives.
And you might point out the account executives are the people that sold advertising.
Yes,
on
correct.
On the cable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there were 2, right? One retired?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So the policy is essential to ensure consistency in the payout of the final payout for compensation upon an AE separation from the company. So additionally, staff asked the board to consider amending section X compensation plan subsection Q. Please see the revised proposed changes below highlighted.
And these people were paid a base, not a large wage at all, and then the rest of their compensation came through commissions, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
And so basically what this is doing is making sure the employee who retired gets fully compensated for whatever they may have earned or whatever when they were working, is that correct?
Any type of separation,
Okay.
whether they resign, retire,
Okay.
or if there was a disciplinary action
Right.
termination. But just so we can be consistent across the board on how their last final payment is of their commission or any sales booked.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
The only question I had is the idea, there's various ranges in here about if the county executive require, how much notice the county executive gives us. Hanson, I guess I'm gonna flip this over to you. This is okay in terms, because of the nature of commission compensation, these kind of things are not frowned upon. These kind of requirements are standard in terms of, if you give us 3 months notice, the terms are more beneficial. If you give us less than a month's notice, you only get paid to the end of that month, those sorts of things. Is that common in this type of pay scheme?
I'm not sure what, as far as the industry standard is, but as far as the payments go, as long as you're paying the minimum wage, you're fine. And then the commissions are a matter of contract.
Okay.
So that's
Right.
what this is establishing. This
Good.
came from the marketing folks, kind of what's best suited their needs. So
Okay.
as long as it's defined at the front end, and you.
So this is
and-
a contract that our employee, that those employees agree to?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes, sir.
That's fine. No.
And those are our only employees who are commissioned, is that correct?
I believe
Yes.
so.
Yes.
Yes. Correct.
But as far as commission, you can design the program depending on your, what suits your business needs best, as long as it's provided up front.
That's good. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any questions of Michelle or Hans? Like I said, this is being done to kind of address, to make sure we still have one of the employees. This is basically for them, we have to address this to resolve some issues with the employee who left, correct?
Well,
And for the future, yeah.
Right, just mainly for the future. We just want to make sure that we're consistent. That employee has been handled, but that brought to light that we do need to have a consistent policy just in case I'm no longer here
Right.
or finance isn't here. We just want to make sure it's consistent and laid out in our policy.
Okay.
And then the person we've got on now will sign this. They'll need to agree to this in order to continue under the employment, correct?
It'll be sent out to all employees because
Okay.
it's in our guidelines.
Okay.
But-
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Any questions for Michelle? Okay, if not, do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second. Second.
Jason, we have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Approved. Next one is item 5.8. Consider amendments to the job classification and compensation plan, reclassify telecom engineering technician supervisor position, and creation of telecom engineering 1 and 2. Ms. Brown?
Yes. Staff requests the board's approval to reclassify the telecom engineering technician supervisor position to a telecom engineering manager and to create an engineering 1 and engineering 2 position. In 2019, management eliminated the engineer manager position and introduced a chief telecom engineer position, which was never filled. This led to a substantial increase in the telecom engineer tech supervisor responsibilities. The current job description for the telecom engineer tech supervisor no longer reflects the expanded duties resulting from the chief telecom engineer absence. Staff has updated the job description and recommend renaming the position to telecom engineering manager. Additionally, staff proposes creating telecom engineering 1 and telecom engineering 2 positions to support the telecoms department daily operation, particularly due to the rising demand for professional engineer certifications related to the broadband grant applications, federal highway crossings, and pole loading analysis for entities outside FPB's electrical territory. The 24-25 budget allocates funds to implement these changes. Based on an evaluation of the job duties, the recommended classification for the telecom engineering manager is a grade 117 with a minimum starting salary of $84,048, and telecom engineer 1 is a grade 113 with a minimum starting salary of $64,546, and telecom engineering 2 is a grade 115 with a minimum starting salary of $74,305. The proposed job descriptions are located in the detailed pages starting on page 201. Does the board have any questions?
Is Adam, is he
Yes.
still here? You want to come up and join us, sir?
Yes, sir.
So after Ms. Brown has set the stage for you, tell us what you're thinking here, buddy.
Oh, okay, I mean, pretty much what she read is pretty much what's going on. We had that position. We never could get any applications to fill it, so basically those responsibilities have been held by the engineering supervisor.
Mhm.
A couple other people, but primarily that's been his responsibility to do all that stuff. So we talked about it, and actually during the budget this year, I reminded the board, this was actually last year, and then it kind of got caught up in all the Paycom stuff.
Mhm.
So we're we're over a year behind on this. The other part of it was, as we're dealing with some of the grants and a lot of the pole loading and things of that nature, they're wanting a professional engineer or engineering on staff. And we actually had a engineering tech that went to school and got his engineering degree. And so we thought, well, we kind of got a homegrown engineer in cable, so then we decided to introduce the engineer 1, engineering 2. It will not increase the number of positions in that department. It would be like that person would promote to that position.
And you think this helps you with recruitment, retention down the road in the market?
Yeah, I think so. We will see. I mean, we've never been able to draw an engineer from outside. We tried in 2011 and 2019. I don't think we were able to draw any applications. But if we have somebody inside, this person's, I think, been here 7 or 8 years. So they got a long career ahead of them. So hopefully
It could keep us from losing them.
Exactly.
Any questions from Adam or Nichelle? If not, do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Approved.
Thank you so much.
Nichelle, Adam, thank you. You're still here, Ms. Brown.
Yes, one more.
Item 5.9, consider amendments to the job classification and compensation plan, eliminate inventory control coordinator title, and add a warehouse material specialist position.
Yes,
So
sir.
this is not a new position. It's not adding any new employees, correct?
It will add, it's not adding a new position, it will add an additional body, yes.
Right.
Yes, okay. So staff recommends that the board consider eliminating the inventory control coordinator position and replacing it with an additional warehouse material specialist position. The duties currently performed by the inventory control coordinator can be effectively reassigned to the warehouse material specialist job title. The addition of another warehouse material specialist is crucial for managing essential tasks such as shipping and receiving, order fulfillment for employees and contractors, and charge outs. This would provide much needed support to the understaffed warehouse area. Furthermore, eliminating the inventory control position will result in payroll savings. The inventory control coordinator is classified as a grade 106 with a minimum starting salary of $43,970, while the warehouse material specialist is classified as a grade 102 with a minimum starting salary of $33,618. The 24-25 budget includes funds to support these changes, and the revised warehouse specialist job description, specialist 3 job description is located in the detailed pages on page 217. Do you have any questions?
Any questions for Nichelle?
So there's no person in the inventory control position right now?
No.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion's approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next one, item 5.10, this is just clarification. When we adopted the ambassador program last month, wanted to make sure it was clear that board members are not eligible to get the bonus referral fee if we make a sale of the next band. I know, it's just one of those things. Plus, I think the statute says how much we can be paid anyway, so I don't think we could get it even if we wanted it.
Right.
It was nice for that one fleeting moment to think, but it ain't gonna happen. So, do we need to act on that, Hans, or just?
If you want to amend the policy, you could. I think it's.
I mean, it already provided, like, management was not eligible, correct?
That's correct.
Would board be considered as management, or do we just need to add board
Why
member?
don't I'll go ahead and make a motion. I will make a motion to amend the specifications for the next van ambassador program to include under the exemption for management not being eligible for the program, to include board members under that exception.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed? There's $1 million just gone. Next is Adam, you want to come up? Item 5.11, consider second bead letter. You want to give us the exact status right now of where everything stands with the next round of state federal funding for broadband?
Yeah, so the plan board completed our pre-qualification notice to the state Friday. So that has been turned in and acknowledged that they've received it. They're reviewing that. At this point in time, the state we're talking about, it could be the end of November or possibly January before they open up for applications. One, they're reviewing the pre-application folks, and the other thing they're doing is they have to get their map adopted by the federal to actually what areas are available. So they're kind of vague, but I look for it to be, first of the year. So that's kind of, we're eligible, I guess, unless they communicate something else that they need.
And we've submitted our letter
We've submitted our
to be pre-qualified,
Right.
or whatever that is.
Yeah, that was done, I think Mr. Denton finished it up on Friday with the final signatures. So if there's no questions, then we will be eligible to submit an application for the next round, which will probably be, I'm gonna say, December, January timeframe.
So where we're at this point, we had previously submitted a letter to the county,
Right.
basically outlining what we understood to be the process and asking them if they were interested in proceeding with us, and basically advising them that it would require a match,
Yeah.
and that basically we weren't in a position to put that match in there, and asking them to let us know how they wanted to proceed. And as of this point, I think, Gary, we've not had any formal communication how they want to proceed, correct?
No, we didn't have anything in writing.
So I guess the question at this point, do we want to send a follow-up letter, or just, I think, the county's aware, and the ball's, it's kind of up to them to decide how they want to proceed. So I guess what's the board's preference, in a follow-up letter, or just, everything's out there and just kind of see where it goes? Steve?
No, I'd like to send a follow-up letter, but I also want the public to know, that we have committed a lot of money to the county, and for us to go any further financially, we're going to be paying it on the backs of our existing city customers and county customers. And without the participation of fiscal court, I think that's the driver. I mean, that's the key to this, the success of this, participation by fiscal court.
We originally started this out the way this is supposed to go: $5 million from us, $3 million from the county, to do all the homes. We had to kind of retrench when costs went up, and we were almost punished by being one of the early adopters on this.
At the 50-50 match.
At the 50-50 match instead of the better matches we're going to be getting later. The county money never materialized. We're doing a smaller number of homes. We're still a significant number of homes, over 1,000 homes, and we have upped ours from $5 million to
6.5
something. Yeah, I was going to say 6.25, but 6.5 million, and that's a significant investment to expand to the county. But like Steve said, that's the extent, I think, of what we can do without, like I said, going back on our existing ratepayers. So I think it's that important. And I think we do need to send a second letter to let them know in no uncertain terms that the clock is ticking, and they need to decide whether they want to be in on this with us or not.
Right, and then if they elect not to participate, and that's certainly, they've
That's
got
their
priorities, they've
prerogative.
got things they need to look at, but we'll have a decision to make, but the ability of us to come up with basically $5 million extra dollars for match
Right.
to apply for the rest of the county, I think is
No.
very, very remote at best.
And if we do have to go on a loan, you know, we have had some discussions about the potential for, are there certain small targeted areas
Right.
that would make economic sense to us that are attached to close by existing areas that we could get to easily and maybe do a few, but nothing is guaranteed without any significant county involvement.
And to make sure, originally it was about 1,900 homes. We submitted a scaled down application that we put the match up for and got 884 homes. So there's
884.
about 1,100 homes remaining.
I want to say 1,037.
Okay.
Something. Yeah.
So basically, the motion would be to authorize Gary to contact the county, basically follow up on our previous letter and say, here's kind of where we think the time frame.
Follow up in writing.
Yes,
Huh?
yes,
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 yes.
yes. And ask them if they've had any further discussions or thoughts about it, and if not, to let us know, because at this point, we're submit the letter to qualify, but to submit the application for the full amount, just kind of where we're at, and, you know, they obviously are not required to go with us. They don't have to go with anybody, or they could go with someone, that's their decision. Our commitment on the 884 homes is we're continuing to do it at rates, services, the same as everybody else in Franklin County is getting, which is a very good rate.
The other thing is too, I mean, at the end of the day, we're still 60, 90 day. So we'll have to, you know, if we do something internally or the county, we really need to know sooner than later. Because
Right.
you're on that 60 and 90 day
Right.
window for accepting applications.
Right. So,
We will have a draft letter ready for you for review before we send it out.
right, but we want to get that out sooner rather than later.
Yes.
Yeah. So, do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Send the letter. Adam, thank you, sir. Next one is, Hans and I have talked about this. We have, one of our members of the Ethics Committee, his term ends in December. And we have the option, we can reappoint that member. And that person is Jill Master, has indicated to us she is willing to serve again. Or at the board's pleasure, and we don't have to take action this month because we do have till December. If anybody has other names they'd like to submit for the board to consider, we can do that. We can act on Jill tonight, or we could act in October, whatever the board's preference is.
And I'll
Yeah,
just
Hank.
add, Miss Lemaster's indicated she is willing to serve.
Right.
She emailed us.
I don't see any reason why Ms. Lemaster couldn't be reappointed. I think she's done a good job, and I think she's you know, people aren't exactly beating the door down to do this job. So
For free.
You've got somebody who knows what they're doing and is smart, capable like she is. That's certainly something that I would support. Go ahead and just reappointing her.
And
right
she was
now.
executive director of the
Executive
Executive Branch
Branch
Ethics Commission. In fact, she
yes.
was the first director of the Executive Branch Ethics Commission.
I make the motion to appoint you.
We have a motion to ask Ms. to ask to vote to approve Ms. Lemaster for another term. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hans, you can, I don't know if you want to tell Jill she won or lost. So-
Yes, sir. I will let her
Tell
know.
her we did everything we could to see if anybody wanted to postpone it, but she
do.
won.
Will do. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Do they get snacks at their meetings like we do?
We
Soft
can
drinks?
get, we've got a closet full of them up there. So
Yeah.
we're all set.
She gets all the Doritos she wants.
All
sir.
the Doritos, all the crackers. There you go. Thank you.
Next is Sharmista. Do you want to tell us what you know about the singing bridge? Since you're kind of our bridge expert, you know.
So as you're aware, they did a bridge inspection, I guess it was within 2 weeks ago, within the last 2 weeks, and they basically recommend immediate closure for both vehicular traffic and pedestrians. So we do have 2 existing 10-inch water lines on that bridge. I did reach out to the transportation cabinet with the bridge inspection team, and they said that at this time the plan is to leave all utilities in place. If that was to change during design, they'll reach out to me. So we've shared contact information. They're aware of the water lines. We do perform inspections on all our water lines that are attached to bridges. Last inspection, everything looked fine. We did go down and put eyes on the bridge, not me, but Bruce's crew did, and they said from what they can see, from where they could see it from the ground, where they without actually accessing the bridge, they said everything still looked like it was in pretty good shape. They didn't see any concerns or any leaks. The hangars all seemed to be intact. So,
and as I understand it, the city has applied for a federal grant to rehab or do something to revitalize or restore the bridge.
I don't know the exact details. Is it the city or would it be the state? Since the state's the one
It's
that
a state
actually,
highway.
Okay.
I think it's a state
Okay.
road, so
Okay.
I think the state would be.
Has submitted the grant.
Yeah.
I think the city, though, applied before all of this. I had the impression they applied a couple months ago in preparation for and then this happened.
And I understood it was to make some repairs and also to make some
Yeah.
other enhancements on the walking and so
Right, I
forth
think
and
so.
yeah.
Sure, Mr. Would you mind giving us an update on the structural of the bridge?
I can't speak for
Yeah.
the structural part of it, unfortunately.
Have you thought about that you have a career in bridges or?
I didn't thought that was going to happen, but apparently, yeah. I know it's like every bridge has a water line on it right now. So, but yeah. So far, though, they're going to leave it in place.
I'm going to ask an uncomfortable question. Is those water lines? Where is the redundancy if anything happens to those lines? How will that be backfilled, and what are our options in case something goes wrong?
Okay, so I guess originally Capitol Avenue Bridge, I think when we took down the older lines, we just put back one larger diameter line.
Okay.
So we have a 12-inch water line on that. So I guess that would be the one question would be, okay, you're going to take the bridge down. Can we reattach just a one larger line? Instead of having the 2 parallel lines, we'll put one larger line. So that's one option. Second is, do we look at another river crossing? There's not going to be really a lot of room right there for a big pour pit, so we would investigate shifting one way or other. But we do have that 12-inch line on Capitol Avenue Bridge. We have 2 14s that cross the river as well. And then we're going to have this water line, eventually another river crossing with the Broadway Bridge project. So I haven't had a chance to fully run the hydraulics if we take those water lines out of service. And then we have the new water line that goes for Broadway Bridge, if it's on the bridge or below the river.
Right.
So we do have redundancy, so we'll be able to supply the area, what they can maintain all the pressures we need. But there's, yes, first step would be, can we just go ahead and reattach to the new bridge if we have to, if we're going to take it down. So,
And do we also have electric or telecom lines hanging on that?
do you know, Travis or Adam?
No, we've helped support them with some of the lighting stuff they've done on the bridge, but that's about it. As far as electric, maybe some secondary services, but not.
We don't have none of our infrastructure's on there.
It looks like there is a gas line, that may be a fiber line as well, but I think we're the only FPB utility that's attached to the bridge.
Okay.
And so, Sherman, are you hearing they're trying to upgrade the bridge, repair the bridge, or replace the bridge, or everything's on the table?
According to the last email, they're trying to rehab the bridge and leave all utilities in place. So, but I think she said that could change during design, and if that's the case, then we'll just keep in touch, and I'll keep the board updated as I hear back from them.
Do we have a time frame on all that?
They didn't give me a time frame.
I reached out to the city in parallel because I just wanted to poke around a little bit, and it really seemed to just blindside them.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Chuck's
inspection was
amazing
like
down
on a
there, and
Wednesday.
it just
And on Friday, it was shut down.
Yeah, I saw them all there hanging off the bridge doing their thing, and then the next day,
Yeah.
And I was asking if they could open one side of the pedestrian because you can't go from 14 tons of automobiles to zero weight, but it turns out they can't. There's something significantly structural. They don't want to risk it.
If they're willing to take that, I would trust what they're saying. And I don't think that's something they take very lightly at all.
Yeah, I was just my children at Second Street, and a lot of their friends are trapped on the other side, and they have to go to the Stone Bridge. And I've already had a number of encounters on the Stone Bridge where people decide it's a social setting and they just want to cluster and talk on the sidewalk. And
Well, I know that night at the city commission meeting, there was a request by the city commissioners to Chuck Knowles to communicate to transportation. Was there any way in the interim they could get the pedestrian, at least something opened up? So, and I know Chuck was going back to talk to KYTC.
Well, at least a week ago, it was totally not an option. But Thank
Sure,
you.
Ms.
Once
Vicky,
again, sure, Mr. Thank you
Sorry,
for
I
all
don't
the
have,
updates
I
on
can't speak
bridges.
for the structural part of the bridge, but thanks.
Could you work on the Sherman Minton in Louisville? Next item, 5.14, consider approving revisions to the FPB wellness policy. Hans?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm appearing for Kathy Jennings tonight, who's done a lot of work on the wellness policy over the years. They're moving from they're basically installing a new app, going from a MoveSpring app to the Wellable app, and that clarification is in there. And then it adds a clarification that you can accrue a maximum of 8 hours of fitness time per year for a variety of activities, with a maximum of 16 hours carried over. So just ask the board to approve the revisions to the fitness policy.
And this is a revision, we already have this plan.
Yes,
This
sir.
is revising our existing plan, correct?
Yes, sir, correct.
And actually at a lower cost, is that correct?
Correct. Correct.
So it saves us money?
Correct.
Okay.
And hopefully people are healthy, and that'll save money as well.
Yes. That
That's
makes Mr. Denton happy.
That makes Michelle happy too.
Yeah.
Health claims. So, thank you.
Do we have any questions of Hans?
So moved.
Okay, if not, do we have a motion?
Motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Adopted. Next is the one I talked about earlier. It's an informational item, and it's discuss FPB safety manual updates. Tyler?
Is this where I make a motion to dispense with the reading of?
Yes, of the record.
A 30-second summary, right?
Yes. I can keep it short, I promise. So, the past 2 years, 2023 and this year so far, we've been working, me and JC in the past, we're working to get this thing going and making it like one breathing document, living document that we go by more. And because back in the day, it was just each policy's different and we're just going to separate. No, it's all joined together now, more uniformed. That was one big part of it, was uniforming it all the same. So I'll just summarize each section that has key parts in it, okay? I'm not going to read line for line.
Okay.
So in tab 1, which is the general safety rules and the introduction, so at the moment we have what is called a chargeable. And a chargeable accident or incident is one in which the employee did not take every reasonable action to prevent the accident or incident. And that comes out of our vehicle usage policy. So now what I did, I took that out and we put it into this, so it's also falling under general safety rules.
Okay.
So we have 2 categories, all right? So it's not just vehicle usage anymore, you get 3. You get 3 under that now, and then 3 under general safety as well. It's just a better way to hold each other accountable and keep better track of incidents and accidents for certain employees, or all of them, sorry. And then we added 7 more sections to the introduction of general safety rules, which was, we just pretty much took APPA, the 17th edition, kind of mirrored it. And for our electric department, they still go by the APPA 17th edition for operational. We didn't want to put all the operation stuff out of that into this because that's a lot of info into that. So we still go by that for the electric department. In tab 4, our emergency action plans, we added in the event of an electric line strike, excavation of contaminated soil, fiber optic strike, gas line strike, sewer line strike, and workplace violence. It's just going over what to do in the event we come across that on our own job sites or workplaces. Tab 5, vehicle safety usage update. The only thing changed there was in the past it was just a safety officer that made the decision whether it was a chargeable. Now we added the department heads as well. And then tab 7, which is the HAZCOM, hazardous communication section. The only thing changed in there is we go by we use Velocity as our SDS safety data sheet database, and it has QR codes. So in the break rooms, there's QR codes. Every desktop computer has a QR code on it, and it brings up our inventory. So it's an easier way to immediately get information on a chemical. Tab 9 was the permit required confined space program. All I did was update the form, put more areas on the form that you can put more readings, because OSHA says you need to check the confined space air quality periodically. We only had like 3 or 4 sections. Well, let's say we're in there for 2 hours and we do it every 10 minutes. So I added more to it. And then tab 10, the last one, excavation and trenching. So that kind of mirrors 1926 subpart P, which is the trenching and excavation standard. But one thing we did add, that's not OSHA required or anything like that, was in the event we put a trench box in the ground, we will check the air quality, air monitor it, because all OSHA says is at 4 foot or deeper in depth, near landfill or where hazardous substances are stored, you check the air quality. Well, I think there should be more stuff, because if you put a box in the ground, there's no airflow. It's just coming from the top down. So if carbon monoxide gets inside, it's not going to move. So that's why we put that in there for that reason right there. You have any questions on any of this? I try
Hans, you've looked at all this and good
to
with,
them.
okay?
One thing, it will change as, why we present it as an informational item rather than an action item.
Right.
If there are operational changes that come up or regulatory changes, we can go ahead and make those and then bring it back to the board annually perhaps, just to kind of keep everybody apprised.
So is this something we would normally do? Do we adopt it? This is something you all adopt? We just tell you all to adopt this as part of what we do, and you all staff?
I don't think it has to be any formal action. We just wanted to present it to the board.
Excellent.
Thanks. It sounds like a lot of work. So
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, it's been going on since early 2023. We've been working on it. So.
I mean, you don't feel cheated that you don't get to read it all, do you?
No, not at all. Not at all.
and you've converted it to an app, right, for your phone? So
Yeah, no, okay. I wish that'd be pretty cool.
Pretty cool. Thank you very
Any
much.
other questions for Tyler? Thank you for all your work on this.
No problem.
Thank you, sir. Item number 7, request permission, have chair call for a closed session. Mr. Snyder.
Mr. Chairman, I would request permission, make a motion we call a closed session pursuant to KRS 61-810-1C to discuss proposed litigation regarding a contract matter, a products liability matter, and an administrative merger matter.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of going into closed session for the reasons as set forth, say aye.
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 Those opposed? We're going in closed session. Be back in 5 minutes. closed session?
So moved.
Do we have a second? We have a motion second to come out of closed session. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? We're out of closed session. Mr. Snyder?
Mr. Chairman, from the closed session, I would like to make a motion to approve, authorize, ratify, and otherwise allow staff to execute and submit any documents required to participate in the AFFF Products Liability Litigation, number MDL 2873 settlement agreements.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a
Second.
motion. We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Any other business, Mr. Snyder?
No further action was taken during the closed session, Mr. Chairman.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of adjournment say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you all.
Night.